It's easy to throw around the term skill without fully understanding its definition or application in the arts. So what is skill, and how do artists use it? My name is Carrie, and here on Artist Strong, I help artists like you build their skill and develop their unique voice. Today, we're digging deeper into the term skill and how our mindset about this noun helps or hurts our artistic growth. Let's start with a textbook definition of skill. According to Merriam-Webster, skill is the ability to use one's knowledge effectively and readily in execution or performance. Dexterity or coordination, especially in the execution of learned physical tasks. A learned power of doing something competently, a developed aptitude or ability. Take a minute to digest this definition. Sit with it. So many times we assume a full understanding of a topic without really thinking about its nuances. For example, did you observe that several of the definitions included the word learned? I hope that sinks in. Learned. Learned means something we can develop, grow, take in, change. I think you get my drift. But it's really important to emphasize this because countless creatives in this community have used the term skill in reference to other artists that they feel a bit envious of or look up to in terms of ability. So anytime that inner critic starts whispering in your ear, remember, skill is learned. I really want you to feel empowered that if you feel lacking in any skill, technique, or artistic approach, that you have the power to change your circumstance. Because skill is something you can learn, develop, and grow. In fact, I recently reread the classic Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. And she talks about something called a global skill. A global skill is something that once you learn, you never lose it. So for example, if you learn how to ride a bike or swim, you don't forget how to do it, no matter how long it is between bike rides or swims. Drawing is another example of a global skill. Once you learn how to draw, you don't forget how. It's important to discuss definitions of skill because when we face a mean or loud inner critic, it means we can do something about it. It's also helpful to talk about our development as we grow up and how and what types of drawing we do depending on our age, because this can help us see how our skill starts to develop and what we can do about it today. Again, reviewing Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards, it reminded me of these stages of development. In early childhood, we start with a bunch of scribbles. Once we're toddlers, we start to draw objects around us, creating symbols we use on repeat to portray things like people or dogs. A few years later, we start to observe details and add things like fingers or legs to people, and maybe even clothing and details around clothing. Finally, around age 9 or 10, we become really interested in learning how to portray things realistically. And at this age, we are technically capable of achieving this. This is often where many young artists become blocked. They want to learn how to achieve realistic effects, but are not given the tools to do so. Additionally, often well-meaning teachers, parents, or other authority figures can say something that discourages us from exploring our art further, and thus our skill level remains at the age of our 9 or 10-year-old self. Now let's come to adulthood. We miss that drawing or art activity that we did as a child, but we feel vulnerable starting up again. But maybe we show up and try anyways. When we observe our artwork and our skill level shows up like our 9 and 10-year-old self, that not only feels frustrating, but often we can feel embarrassed. Somehow, magically, we expect ourselves to be better at something we've spent no time working to improve. I sincerely believe it's this moment of feeling discouraged that keeps creatives moving in and out of block. That childhood memory of being rejected or told we weren't good at art comes right back in our mind, loud as ever, and the vulnerability that comes with improving a new skill holds us back from trying or sharing with people who might be able to help us improve. Let's return to that Merriam-Webster definition we started with today. And that repeated word again was, oh right, learned. No matter where you are in your creative journey, if you have an interest in improving your art skill, it's entirely possible. And I hope today's conversation helps you really own that truth. Now let's pause here a moment to thank today's sponsor. This post from Artist Strong is brought to you by the Artist Strong Studio. It's our community of patrons who believe in and wish to support this space and work. You can become part of the Artist Strong Studio for a small monthly commitment as low as $1 a month. To learn more, visit www.patreon.com/artiststrong. A special thank you to my current patrons. I couldn't do this work without your help. Now it's your turn. Instead of sharing the many horror stories we all share of being discouraged with our art, I ask you to write in the comments below, what would you tell your 9 or 10-year-old self instead? Let's create a list of positive, encouraging statements of love for our inner child. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you here next time on Artist Strong.